have a dream, oh, I have a dream. Red, white, and blue, fly free, fly free. I believe, oh, I believe. Will you dream with me?
Good morning, everyone out there. Welcome to Changing Times. This is Wednesday. This is the first Wednesday of the new year.
And it looks like it is sometime in January.
Yeah, January 4th. January the 4th, I tell you what, we are actually going to start a brand new year today. We were so happy that you're with us. Show number 91. And that's a lot of shows.
91.
It's a lot of shows that Don and you and I have done, and we're proud of that.
Congratulations.
Yeah, well, thank you, Louie. And I tell you what, I'm Lynn Morris.
My name is Wayne Newton. No, wait a minute. I'm Louie Michael, sitting in for Dawn today.
Yeah, and hope Dawn gets a little bit better. I think she was having some sniffles or something, and hope I get through it too, because I've been having a tickling, and it just makes you start to cough. And I don't think you want to hear me just do a bunch of coughing.
Keep that coffee handy.
So just keep sipping on something, and we'll be okay. But today we're live at the Axe Media Group headquarters in Springfield, Missouri, and the weather out there today is going to be in the 40s. And actually, for the next week, this week and next week, we're going to be in the 40s and 50s, so we're kind of having a little warm-up spell compared to what we had with minus 0.
Yeah, can you believe that before Christmas? We have these minus 20 temperatures, and which I was glad we did, because the little bit of snow we had stuck around for Christmas.
Yeah, it was a pretty Christmas. It was a white Christmas.
We had a
that
white
makes
Christmas.
Those people happy that want that, and I was kind of glad because it stayed off the streets mostly, and being in charge of roads down in Christian County, it sure helped my guys. And
then Mother Nature says, well, okay, wait just a minute. I've got another surprise for you.
That's
Here's
right.
70 degrees.
70 degrees. We've had a couple of 70s and 60s and things like that. And so welcome to Southwest Missouri.
That's right.
But today we're going to do, Louie, we're going to do something that Don and I started and a little bit more difficult today, I think. We're going to be doing predictions of 23, what's going to happen in 23. And honestly, as I did the research on this, spent 2 or 3 days, actually 3 days, doing research on this. I saw that a lot of people, some people said, I'm not going to make predictions this year. Some of the famous people that actually do all this research and stuff like this said that we're not going to make predictions this year. You know, I think sometimes when we've got so much turmoil and so much division and so many things that people seem to think is negative, and I agree, some of these things are very negative. I think it's harder to make predictions when it's that way. I think it's easier to predict things when everyone's happy and when things are going better.
Yeah, it's a lot smoother roller coaster, or, the ride's a lot smoother.
Right.
But when things are real sketchy and things aren't maybe going the way as planned, you don't know which turn you're going to take, and it's really hard to tell what's around the corner.
Right. And so, that's what I noticed when we were doing this. The other thing we'll talk about in the second half of the show, we'll be talking about events that happened in 22 that are major events. We're not, in 45 minutes, we're not going to be able to cover everything, but we're going to try to hit some of the highlights, and some of those events that happened in 22 are still going on in 23 and affecting what happens in 23. But before we get started with predictions, one of the things I read, Louis, on doing my research is I thought it was very interesting. I didn't know that they rate countries on happiness level. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
But you know who the number one country is?
I would say like somewhere in Asia.
No, Finland.
Finland, really?
Finland is, again, they were last year too. I didn't know that. They were voted as the happiest country in the world. So I think we probably need at some point in time this year kind of research Finland and find out why Finland. Now, you know where the United States ranks?
Where?
They don't rank in the top 12.
Really?
They're between 13 and 20.
That doesn't
now
sound right.
That doesn't make me feel very good. That doesn't make me very happy.
It doesn't.
And so I'm just thinking about, wow. So I learned that while I was doing the research. But, and not everybody's going to agree on these different things that we're going to be talking about. And I found out that different researchers aren't going to agree either. So, so for example, in the we're going to do United States first, and then we'll do some things in the world predictions. But you know, in the United States, obviously we got a presidential race in 24. Very important race for our country.
And
election.
really, 2023, we're going to start experiencing all the campaigning.
That's right. So that's why we're talking about it right now in 23, because we have to figure out who's going to be the nominee for the Democratic Party, who's going to be the nominee for the Republican Party. Some of these researchers have actually put percentages. So, for example, President Biden, some of these researchers said that he is 70% likely to run again. So 70% for President Biden. President Trump, former President Trump, looked at two different researchers, people that are experts on predicting things, been pretty accurate in the past. One had 70% that President Trump would get the nominee and actually run. One was 50. And then the third one kind of broke a little tie, threw a monkey wrench in it, and said he was going to be indicted this year in 2023. We know that there's some charges pending and things like that. So all those things are kind of interesting,
and charges they've been talking about for years.
Yeah. And so it'll all be interesting. I think as you and I went to the station today to do our show, the studio today, now the Republican Party can't figure out how to get a Speaker of the House.
No, that's a little embarrassing.
Yeah, I think it is too.
Out of 120 years is the first time, or 118 years maybe,
right,
that they've not been able to vote in a Speaker of the House immediately.
Right. So, and they've already done 3 votes. And they're going to vote again at noon today. That'll be their 4th vote.
What are they doing in between these votes? What
they don't have any function because they've not been sworn in yet, so they're just sitting there.
But what is their function? The like McCarthy, and what are they doing? Are they trying to lobby to these?
Oh yeah, they're people are coming to them and trying to get promises made.
They're negotiating deals.
Negotiating. They want their bills to go forward. They want different positions in different committees. I mean,
a lot goes into it.
A lot goes into it, and we'll see what happens. But talk about inflation. We've been racked with inflation this year and our last year, and we're still continuing to have inflation. I noticed a lot of people are kind of voicing their opinions on inflation. Most of them said that we're going to end up with about 3.5% to 5% in 23. That will be about half of what we are seeing today. I always thought our inflation was more than 10% when they said it was 9 or 10 because my wife, I'm sure your wife, and a lot of people out there are good barometers of what's going on. They're at the grocery store, they're buying gas, they're buying clothes, they're paying their utility bills and everything like that. And a lot of people thought inflation was higher than 9 or 10%.
Well, when you buy eggs, 2.5 dozen for $18.
Yeah, so that's a little bit more than 10%.
Everything's but that's a good indicator.
But when you do the individual things and they're all more than 10, then how does the average come out to be 10?
Yeah, or less than that.
So anyway, that's something to be watching. And then there was a lot of people that predicted that we would be in a recession by the end of summer to fall. There was more than half of the people that I researched that said that the United States would be in a recession by August to October, somewhere during that time. That's a serious prediction, and I'm hoping that's not going to happen, because when the United States goes into a recession, the rest of the world is facing inflationary problems too, worse than we are, and they're going to go into recession too. And the whole world going into recession is not good. We remember in 2008 what that did to the stock market. We're already watching to see what the stock market has done today, this past year, and things like that. So
the United States is kind of an indicator for the rest of the world. What's going to happen.
I think how it goes United States will go the rest of the world.
Right.
And I just think we can do better. I just feel like that we can do better. Some other interesting things that I saw was over 50 million birds Now we're talking about chickens and turkeys,
Okay.
things that we eat,
Right.
not robins.
Okay.
They may be becoming extinct too. I don't know.
I hope not.
But 50 million birds, over 50 million birds this year are going to get the U.S. bird flu, and they are going to be destroyed. And so probably chicken and turkey is going to be even more expensive.
More pricey.
So that's actually going to add to inflation too.
Man.
Then, some of the things that they're predicting this year is continued changes in the weather pattern. So whether it's the climate issues that people are saying, I don't know. I'm still on the fence on all these climate issues, but certainly something's changing. And tornadoes and forest fires in the summertime and hurricanes, and looking at Florida, how it just got wrecked by 2 or 3 hurricanes during the hurricane season. I mean, all those things are.
But hasn't that happened over centuries?
Well, it has, but it seems like it's quicker and more intense and worse.
But are we gauging it just off of our lifetimes?
Well, it's harder to go back past our lifetime and go back and study.
Let's see. Yeah.
And but that's going to be interesting to see exactly.
So what's your prediction this year for hurricanes and tornadoes?
Well, they said it's going to be a bad year.
Really?
Most of them said it's going to be equal to or worse than last year.
Wow.
And so it's going to continue to increase in intensity. And so that's probably not think how much money we have to spend to rebuild everything every year. So that's a problem. I'm just trying to think of some of the others that we've got. I know something I thought was interesting, and I think we've just heard it on the news, but some people commented on this. Gasoline costs, the price of gasoline went up to $4 or $5 a gallon last year, and now it's back down. Actually, in our area, Southwest Missouri, in a lot of places, it's below $3 a gallon.
Yeah.
But they're predicting it to continue to go down until spring, and then it's supposed to start going back up to by summertime we'll be back up to $4 to $5. So if you're in an area like California or someplace that has higher prices to begin with, gasoline may be over $5 a gallon again. And
is that because of the summer demand?
Well, it is. They change blends, and people travel, and the more, it's just the economic rule that supply and demand, and so if more people are wanting it to have demand, then it's going to cost more, especially because we're buying it instead of producing it.
Right.
There was a time a couple of years ago 3 years ago, when we actually had a surplus and we were selling to other countries in the world, and now we mostly buy. And unfortunately, we buy from a lot of enemies. We buy
Venezuela?
We buy from countries who actually would destroy America if they could.
Yeah.
They can't, but they would love to. And I never understood that, why you would supply and buy from an enemy where they can take all your money and then build missiles.
We're not talking just a little bit of money. It's a lot of money.
No, build missiles and things like that.
It would be nice if we were doing more here, American, supplying our own and actually selling it to the world as opposed to having to go buy it.
Oh, yeah, and we can do that.
Yeah.
Oil, natural gas, all that stuff.
Yes.
We actually can do that. Another thing that I thought was interesting is that here it is, 70%. We will slip into recession. 70% of the people that
was that a Gallup poll?
It was all kinds of things. They were some individuals, they were some organizations, things like this.
There was a recent Gallup poll that had all kinds of different things that people were predicting, and I'm one of the world's worst predictors because I'm so optimistic. I want everything to be good, so I don't always. Is the economy going to be bad next year? Well, I hope not. I hope it's good. I think it's going to be good. So, but it's hard to say at this point.
Right. Well, there's actually one for all the Super Bowl fans and NFL football fans out there. If you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan, they actually, some of the people picked Kansas City Chiefs to be in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But Philadelphia Eagles will beat Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
Ooh, that's going to upset some people.
Yeah, that's going to upset some people. So that was a prediction too. But let's kind of move on over. We'll kind of move on over to the world predictions, and we'll kind of skip back and forth if I see something that. Well, here's one that for you. Well, no, these are events. So I don't want to go to events yet. So part of the people was interesting. Obviously, Russia, Soviet Union is extremely important too in the scheme of things, especially now that they invaded Ukraine. And we had about half and half of the people that I researched says that Putin will be actually staying in power in 23, and about half the people think that he's going to actually be stepped down. He's going to be asked to step down.
And I think there's another percentage of people that think that he'll be taken out somehow by his own people within his circle.
He could be, because one of the predictions is that Ukraine's going to make a surprise spring comeback. After this winter, they're going to come back and take over many of the areas that Russia took over during this war that they started, and then they actually will start to invade some Russian areas, Ukraine, and when that happens, because Russia evidently does not have trained soldiers. So now he's trying to get them back started again.
They have a draft of some sort, don't they, basically?
Yeah, and evidently they're not trained very well. And that's what these people are saying, that that could cause Putin to lose his job one way or the other.
Well, it makes you wonder how long it takes and how much the people of Russia are going to take, changing their lives and their world, and they're sending off their men basically to fight this war that nobody over there seems to like. So at what point does he finally give in and just say enough is enough and, swallow his pride and go back home? I don't know if he's the type of guy to do that unless he's taken out of power.
Yeah, I don't think he is. I think he's not going to ever admit that he made a mistake. So what he's done, he's going to follow through, and whether it will end up positive or negative, he's going to follow through. Yeah. So another interesting thing is a lot of people worry about Taiwan as a friend of the United States, and we do a lot of business with Taiwan, and obviously a lot of people are worried that China may invade Taiwan just like Russia invaded Ukraine and force the Taiwanian people to be with China. They don't want that. And it's a 90% chance that China will not invade Taiwan in 23. That's a good thing, because we don't need any more wars.
No, we don't.
And we don't need to be active in that war, because I think that's another one that would drag us into a war. And so that another interesting thing is we haven't had any countries join NATO in many years. And Finland and Sweden both have applied. And so one or two of those countries in 23 will probably become a member of NATO. And I think that's interesting. That just kind of shows you the shift of what's going on.
Finland needs that so they can remain the happiest country in the world.
That way they don't have to worry about as much about invasions and things like that.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. Happiest country in the world. That's
I got to see what's
amazing.
going on over there.
Yeah, we're going to study.
Do a little research.
We're going to study that, because we need to emulate that. Because, our country has, and, you've got your organization to prevent suicide and choosing to live. And I'm so proud of that. And we've got a lot of people over here that have no joy. They just don't have happiness. They've got depression. They've got anxiety. They've got all kinds of things going on in this country. And we don't seem to have a group that's trying to really help this country like it should. We spend too much. I think we spend too much money helping all the other countries, and we don't take care of our own country and our own homeless people and veterans.
That's a whole other show, isn't it?
That's another show.
we could go on for hours on that one.
That's another show. But let's see what else is going on in the world. And I think we're getting ready. Are we about ready to have half our show? Yeah. Okay. I think that's good enough now. So I think what we'll do is we'll take a break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about our 3 sponsors. And so don't go anywhere. But and you might want a pencil and paper to write some phone numbers down and things like this. But when we come back, we're going to be talking about some of the events that have shaped the country and the world and stuff like that. And just a reminder for anyone that's new that's watching our show, because we know we get new viewers every week, and we sure appreciate that. We're just growing by the thousands. And Louis, you know, one of the things that we want to accomplish on this show, and Jim Whining, our CEO, helped us develop this format, is that we're talking about social issues every week. Somehow they're related to a social issue or a social cause.
Right.
And we want to have real discussion. We don't want to have what I call fake discussion or discussion that really is not going anywhere, but we want real discussion on those issues. And then we want to come up with a positive solution. So many people want to complain, but they don't have a solution.
Yeah.
And if they do have a solution, it's negative because they're just geared to be negative all the time. Well, that's not going to help at all. So that's what our show is all about. But our sponsors help us to create our shows. And our first sponsor that we got, Don and I got last year, was Brad Pistow, Trinity Insurance Financial Services, located in Ozark, Missouri. His phone number is 417-581-9222. When you call that number, 417-581-9222, either Lisa or Hunter, his son, will answer the phone, and they will send you information, and they will send you a book or two that he has written. Safe Money Matters and Bulletproof are two of his books that is best-selling books on Amazon on retirement planning. He is a certified fiduciary financial planner. He's licensed in more than one state. If you are in another state right now watching this show, but you want one of the best financial planners in the country, he can still help you because he has people that he knows as he travels the country and speaks. He's a contributor to USA Today on retirement issues, and he can line you up with somebody. If he can't take care of you, he can help you get taken care of. My wife and I use Brad, and we have for several years. Several of my family members, Don's family members, and during this last year, during the stock market crashing and losing billions of dollars, we didn't lose one penny, not one penny. And that's how you know that you're not going to run out of money before you run out of life. And so Brad Pistow, that way you don't have to worry. That's another thing you might be able to be happy about,
right?
Since the United States aren't very happy. But something that I think is really important. So Brad Pistow is a guy that we're going to have on in February. He's going to kind of tell us what we need to do in 23, kind of look back a little bit, and then he's going to go forward real quick and talk about great things that we could do to set up our family to be happy and safe and secure. Okay. Our second sponsor, Youngblood Motor Group. We just had John Whitaker on our show. And
that was a great show.
Yeah. You were there that day.
I was.
And John's a great guy. He's the working partner with John Youngblood, and they've been in business over 43 years in Southwest Missouri, and they sell Nissans and Kias. And they also have a tremendous used car, usually between 125, 150 cars, right across the street on South Campbell in Springfield, Missouri. And most of those cars are certified cars. The difference between just buying a used car and a certified car is a certified car that go through over 100 points of inspection. They're making sure that everything's taken care of. So when you drive down the road, 30 miles later, you're not going to have to be back in the shop spending hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars fixing something.
Right.
And so I think that peace of mind is really worth something. They can sell you a car and you never have to go there. They can sell everything online. They can deliver the car to your home, place of business, wherever you want it delivered to, 72-hour guarantee. If you don't like that car, you can exchange it for another car. Hey, his phone number is 882-3838, 882-3838. Just a great dealer. I bought my last two cars from Youngblood Motor Group, and I'll be buying my next car from him too. So that's our first two sponsors. And guess what? You're a third sponsor.
What?
You are Louis
All right.
Michael. Louis
I like
Michael. So you're the realtor for the firm.
Yes.
That's down in Ozark, Missouri.
Ozark, Missouri. It's Sonia Wells is the broker and owner there, and her family, the Parnums, have been in the real estate business in the Ozark area for a long time.
I was going to say a long time. I've been in Ozark for 45 years now, and they've been there longer than me.
Yeah.
And so they're just a tremendous family that you can buy. They'll help you buy a home. They'll help you sell a home. You know, you're looking at property out here by the airport. You do all kinds of things. You sell all kinds of real estate. You sell farms,
commercial,
farms,
whatever. Residential. I can answer any questions. If anybody ever wants a value on their home, I can give them values on their home, see what things are selling for in the area. It doesn't cost you a dime. You don't have to sell your house, but if you're thinking about that and you want to know what it's worth, call me. I can help.
Yeah. And, one of the greatest things that we did last year, and Louis agreed to do it, was while we were doing a show, we were talking about something that we could set him apart from any other realtor. There's no other realtor in Southwest. There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of great realtors. But guess what, Louis? Nobody can sing like Elvis Presley except you.
Well,
so
there might be one out there somewhere.
Is there
I don't
somewhere?
know. I have not met him.
I don't think so. So
her.
here's the cool deal. Buy a home from Louis Michael. Okay, buy a home. And then he's going to help you have a neighborhood party. You're going to get to invite all the neighbors that you don't know any of them, and you're going to have them in their backyard, and he's going to sing Elvis songs, going to do a little concert. You provide a little snacks and stuff like that, and all of your neighbors are going to think you're really pretty cool.
A little disclosure, I don't wear the jumpsuits anymore, so don't be disappointed. Or please, either one.
Well, I tell you what, I don't think I could wear a jumpsuit either. So
Man, I used to feel good in those. I really felt like I was walking in Elvis's shoes. I'd put one on, and of course, I was 190 pounds, and that was a few days ago.
Yeah. Well, when I played professional tennis, I weighed 170. So not 230. Now I weigh 230. I could be a football player.
Oh, Lord, if I could be 230 again. Someday. Mark my words.
So anyway, the firm, and then you have Choosing to Live.
My most important job I have.
I knew you'd say that.
Real estate, entertainment, all the other things that I do, the Choosing to Live is probably the most rewarding and the most meaningful to me, because I do want to encourage people to live. And that's what it is, choosing to live, making that choice. And so many of us go through so many things in our life. I've been there. I've experienced it. I don't have a degree in counseling or therapy or anything like that, but I've lived through those things, and still due to this, this day, I still experience depression and anxiety and PTSD, and I've had suicidal thoughts, and it's a matter of learning how to overcome those things and getting past today and getting past our problems we have today and just pushing to tomorrow. Tomorrow may not be any better, but maybe the next day. Well, that day may not be better, but try the next day. You can't give up.
You can't give up.
Eventually the sun's going to shine, and the old saying my mother's repeated to me a million times, this too shall pass. And I promise you it does. It says it in the Bible. Everything is here to pass. That cup, our lives, our relationships, everything is here to pass. And so is our depression and those feelings of suicide and all that stuff. It will pass. Just give it time, but you got to help yourself and encourage yourself. And like I said a minute ago, I'm an optimist, and thank God he geared me that way, because I have gone through those dark moments, and I always have that flash in my head of, I know things can get better. I know it can get better, and it does. Yeah. You just have to wait.
I think if you had to pick what you wanted to be, I think an optimist is the best.
Yes.
You're going to get let down sometimes. So my wife has taught me to be in government, in all the years I've been in government, besides running my pharmacies, he's taught me to be a realist. You can be an optimist and still be a realist. You kind of understand that some of these things just aren't going to work out, but maybe a combination of both is really good. But what I like about you, Louis, is the fact that you've got the life experiences. Just as you said, you're experiencing those things. You have experienced those things. And I would just want people to know out there that God created every person individually. Every person is unique. They're different. They're not the same. It's kind of like every winter when I hear this about snowflakes, we had that snow, that pretty snow that came down.
Yeah.
It was so pretty when it was coming down just before Christmas. And every snowflake is unique. There's nothing the same about any snowflake. Can you imagine that? All of them coming down.
It's amazing.
And they're not the same.
Yep.
That's like people. They're not the same. So, hey, you know what? If you want to buy a house, sell a house, whatever, your phone number, what is your phone number? 417-988
1086.
1086.
You started out, I'm used to saying the beginning all the way through, then I almost forgot.
1086 988 1086 417. I tell you what, I would give him a call. Even if you just want to think about later on selling your house and kind of get an idea about appraisal of how much your house is worth, maybe what you should do to spend some money to make your house worth more. Some things you don't want to spend a lot of money on
Yeah, of
because you
course.
won't get a return.
Yeah, there's some people that, will call me out and they'll say, okay, we're thinking about going ahead and repainting all these rooms and we're going to tear this wall out. And they want to do all this stuff before they sell the house. Well, depending on the market and how things are, there may be somebody come in and buy that house and they want to do it all over. They won't like what you do.
Right.
So let's just hold off a minute. Let's save you some money. Don't spend that $30,000, because you may not get that return back to you in the sale price of the house. Right. So yeah, there's lots of factors that, come into selling a house. I'm here to help you, coach you along. Just think of me as you don't go to court without an attorney. So you definitely want to have a realtor with you, and I'd love to be that realtor. If I
okay, very good.
To help.
Very good. Well, I tell you what, hey, so we're going to start back our show, and I'm glad you've been hanging in here because you're going to have a treat. Now, we're going to have Louis sing an Elvis song. I said, well, what would Elvis sing in the start of 2023? What would he do for 2023 to help us all? And we're going to let you sing that song.
All right. If I Can Dream. It's one of my favorites. Elvis recorded this for the 1968 Singer Sewing Machine. Right after Martin Luther passed away. There must be lights burning brighter somewhere. Got to be birds flying higher in a sky more blue. If I can dream of a better land where all my brothers walk hand in hand, tell me why, oh why, oh why can't my dream come true? Oh why? There must be peace and understanding sometimes. Strong winds of promise that will blow away all the doubt and fear. If I can dream of a warmer sun where hope keeps shining on everyone, tell me why, oh why, oh why won't that sun appear? We're lost in a cloud with too much rain. We're trapped in a world that's troubled with pain. But as long as a man has the strength to dream, we can redeem his soul and fly. Deep in my heart, there's a trembling question. Still, I am sure that the answer's gonna come somehow. Out there in the dark, there's a beckoning candle. Hey, while I can stand, while I can talk, while I can stand, while I can walk, while I can dream. Oh, please let my dream come true. Oh, right now. Let it come true right now. Oh, yeah. Man, that's got a lot of good words in it.
Oh, that is, and Louis, that's a great Louis, I'm telling you what, that's a great thing to start off 23. We've
Thank
got to
you.
dream. We've got to dream. We've got to set goals. We've got to have a purpose in life, and people need to find out what that purpose is.
Dream
You
big.
know, and dreaming it is a lot of it. Thinking about it, thinking positive, and things like that for 23 is obviously going to be very important.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's going to be cloudy days. There's going to be. I remember down at Table Rock Lake. All the years that we had boats, I know that Jan and I, you know how sunny it can be. I mean, the Table Rock Lake, the water is so blue and clear, and there was no clouds in
Then
the
all of a
sky.
sudden.
And then all of a sudden, we didn't get off the lake in time, and we actually got pelted with rain and hail on a pontoon boat.
Isn't that funny how it's like life?
And it really pretty scary when your rains on your glasses and you can't see out, and you can't see anyway because it's raining so hard.
Right.
And my wife's screaming at me, telling me, do something. Well, what am I supposed to do? You know? And so how life can change so quick. But you got to hang on. You got to hang on. And you have to have faith that you're going to get out of it and the storm's going to go away.
Right.
And then you'll be okay again. So
I remember being young and being thinking about all those things like clouds moving in and stuff. And I remember taking off out of an airport one time, and it was so rainy and nasty. And this moment was so profound to me at the time. But it was all of a sudden, you know how that plane climbs through those clouds and it's getting worse, and you're like, oh my gosh, you know, does he know where he's going? Then all of a sudden you get above that cloud and it's blue skies.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful again. You know,
and that's where, you know, really God creates all this stuff to happen. And as long as you have faith and you don't lose your faith, then you're going to be okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're going to be in a lot less trouble if you have faith. And I understand that, you know, hoping in 23 that people will have a resurgence of finding Christ and finding Lord as their Savior. And, you know, think about that football game the other night.
Oh, man.
The young man, 24 years of age, cardiac arrest out there on the football field. What I thought was interesting was, and I sure hope he's going to be okay, it's going to be a long road for recovery. They do say he's showing some maybe traits of improvement, but what I thought was interesting, some of those networks are not very Christian-oriented networks, but they ask everybody to pray.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't say pray to God, but we knew what they meant.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a time when people did. And there was probably football players there that aren't Christians.
And to see all those people in the stadium and players and all come down and pray and genuinely pray. And for the most part, most people do believe, and they want Jesus Christ to come down and just touch this person, you know, and heal them. And I think most of us have that in our hearts. And even these networks and stuff, at the root core, somebody there's got to believe, although they don't always show it.
Yeah. Well, and don't just pray when times are tough. Pray when times are good, and thank God for your blessings. And then it'll be so much easier to pray and ask for something when you've got tough times.
What's that song?
That's what I thought about.
He's the same in the valley as he is on the mountaintop. And it's so true. And we don't think about that all the time when we're suffering through a struggle, whether it be financial, health, or whatever. You just, you know, it's hard to see that sunshine.
Right.
But he's there. He's the same.
Well, let's go talk a little bit about, and some of these things are very negative. So I kind of hate to end the show on a negative, but we're going to have some experts on this year in 23, and we're going to kind of talk about what we could do to prevent these things. But, you know, Robb Elementary School, some of these other schools, parades, all these things, we have come to a point in our life history of our country where we have a lot of people now just going to a grocery store or a Walmart or someplace and just shooting people. They don't even know these people. And to shoot those young kids and to shoot teachers and things like that, these mass shootings is worse last year in 22 than they've ever been in the history. It seems like it's continuing to increase.
More mental illness.
Mental illness. We need to spend more money on mental illness. We need to understand mental illness and not be afraid of it. I think when I got in the legislature in 2012, we weren't spending a lot of money, but one of the first things we did, remember about that time, we started having shootings in theaters.
Mhm.
Shootings in theaters in the United States of America. What a safe place. You're supposed to be able to take your family, buy popcorn, have a drink,
Be
watch a
entertained.
movie, and not ever think that somebody's going to shoot you in the back of the head in a theater.
Right.
And so that started happening. So we started spending more money in Jefferson City, state of Missouri, for mental health. And we need to continue to do more of that. Those would be those positive solutions. Well, how about the Supreme Court reversing Roe versus Wade?
That was amazing.
That was an amazing thing. My own opinion of that is should have been reversed a long time ago, because I'd rather all 50 states, we've got red states, we've got blue states. People live wherever you want to live, whatever you want to believe in. But us in Missouri, the majority of people in Missouri don't believe in abortion. And that's some of the reasons why we live where we live. If you like a more of a liberal view of life, then you should live in some of those states where Oregon or California or
Well, that
someplace
decision
else.
gave all the decision making back to the states.
Back
correct?
to the states. I'd rather have
So-
more local and state government and less federal government.
Right.
They need to quit spending so much money. They need to protect us, and besides that, leave everything else alone and let the people make the choices. But that was a big issue, and it will continue to be a issue in the next election and on, whether the federal government should have that type of control or not. Then we've got a culture war. We actually, in this country, has a real culture war, and it's actually been fed through politics. Again,
Right.
we've got such a divisive group. We've got one group that's on one side of the table here, and we got another group that's on the other side of the table. And you know what? Nobody's smart enough to get in the middle. Nobody gets in the middle to make compromises to help the country. They're on both sides of the table, and they won't.
There's
meet.
no budging.
No. So we've got a problem there, and I don't see that getting better until we get someone to be a leader that wants to work with both groups to try to come up with everybody winning something and having a happier country.
Is there somebody out there that can bring everybody together? There's got to be somebody that shares views on both sides, that is just somebody that everybody can agree on. You would hope so, but I
think
don't know.
I think there's a man or woman out there. They just haven't emerged yet, but we actually have to have it.
Yeah.
We have to have it, and then we were talking about inflation a while ago, but that is global inflation, and that really is a problem in last year. This inflation was something that we're not used to. We haven't seen that for many years. Seeing the interest rates going up, how's that affecting home sales?
It definitely affects it. I think everything from what I've read, home prices have come down about 1% over the last year. And obviously it slows people down when they go to buy a new home. So, but it's not a buyer's market yet, and it may not be for 2023. It's possible, but there again, I'm an optimist,
Right. Well, I noticed that with the interest rate today, a home that you would normally pay $1,200 a month for, now when I was doing the research, showed that you're going to pay between $1,500 and $1,600 a month.
Yeah. And that's a big difference.
And $300 to $400 a month times 12 months, $3,000 to $4,000.
Yeah, and you think about that extra $300 a month, then you're also spending an extra $300 a month on gasoline.
Right.
Groceries are higher, so people are starting to put the brakes on a little bit and go, I'm not sure if I'm ready to buy this house.
And your home insurance.
Everything's going up.
Yeah. So your predictions this year for real estate, better to buy, better to sell.
It's such a balance. It depends on what the economy does and what our presidential politics are, and whether the Fed keeps raising the rate. I think people are still buying homes. People are still spending the money to buy property, but at not as fast a rate. And it's not, the home prices have come down 1.5%, maybe, to a little more realistic sale price in some situations. But it's anybody's guess this year. I'm optimistic that we're going to keep selling homes.
Okay, very good. And one of the things that I also noticed that in some of the predictions is that the feds will increase the interest rates one or two more times.
Mm-hmm.
One or two more times. They're slowing down the number, and then they may start lowering it. Hey, I think we're going to run out of time, but great discussion. We could go on all day long, but we've got more things to do, and you do too. Hey, thanks for being with us, and we'll be back next Wednesday, same time, 9 a.m.
We're going to have a great year. Happy 2023 and always choose to live.
I wish I had one of those things to blow on. Yeah. Yeah.